crazy. It was insane. I loved every second of it. It's a really cool experience.
Team Freedom maintain their dark horse status. Now about to take out Naventic. They already took down Gale Force Esports last week. And now do Naventic switch things up again? Do we see them do what they've done before and they've been down in the series and go to the map? I don't know. I don't know if that would work in this case because it's one of their best battlegrounds. Yes, but it is for Team Freedom too.
Yeah, it is, and I can see them wanting to. Obviously, they felt the same way. They were going to be able to take a step back, concentrate onto the first pick above ILS. But I think this is a great place to take Naventic. It's probably one of the maps that I would consider one of their weaker. Typically, whenever you have 1-4 where there's the 4-man is considering 2 lanes, Naventic is a team that will consider things with kill potential and like Jaina, but this is a map where you can pull away from that and really kind of ignore the kill potential as long as you don't let it stagger too many deaths. The map objective itself will outweigh it. It just really is against the strengths that Naventic typically carries as a team, but they in fact are going to be banning Malfurion there as their first ban.
Yeah, Team Naventic have not won a game yet on Tomb, losing both to No Tomorrow and Tempo Storm here. So once again, Freedom showing how much preparation and studying they have given and dedicated to this series, understanding how important it is for them. As we've said before, this match and every match from here on out is so pivotal to these teams since they have already lost 2 matches. If they want a chance of going and representing North America at the Western Clash.
And it should be noted that if Naventic wins this series, the other person in that position, to contest is Gale Force Esports, like in that, upper echelon. Naventic lost to Gale Force Esports, but in fact, Freedom beat Gale Force Esports. So if Freedom wins this, they have a reasonable opportunity to be able to qualify, in fact, for those clashes.
Team Naventic have banned Malfurion. Team Freedom banned Tassadar?
Yep.
Yes.
So is Naventic going to be first picking the Ragnaros? Probably. I don't see them adjusting. Freedom, though, where are they going to move? Is it the Tychus ETC, or do they go a different route? Do they go more of the Vala? I think they'll stick true to the Tychus. Question is the ETC the route they move?
So far, they have favored things like Gul'dan Ariel here on here. Tassadar Vala, Diablo Vala. Tassadar's not available, so that might push Vala down in priority, but Gul'dan's a great way to start things out.
Yeah, I absolutely love Gul'dan on this map. I do think that I would take Vala above Gul'dan in this scenario, unless I am very calculated as this drive moves through. They do stick true to the Tychus and the ETC route, though. So Freedom feeling, very comfortable, I think is really the way to put it here. Sticking to what they know, saying we feel, we've got what it takes here with this type of draft over Naventic. And so I really hope Naventic now converts their draft into heavy focus when it comes to the map itself, which is not a common trend when looking at Naventic. They are more worried about what can complement the map when it comes to skirmishing, but not so much on the macro style of play here.
Gosh, to see Freedom come in, and yes, they did win with Tychus ETC in the last game, but still to just play so confidently and draft so confidently that they say, this is working for us, we have no adjustments, it's all on them to make adjustments here. Again, this is a new team with a lot of new members, 2 professional heroes of the Storm. And to start where they started in opening week, where nerves definitely looked like they were a factor, to get to the point here is an impressive climb.
Yeah, they are not afraid of anything or anyone. Naventic being on that list of doesn't afraid of, as well as Vala and Varian. The Vala and Varian are going to be locked in there for Naventic. Varian is a very prominent hero for Team Naventic compared to almost every other team in North America at this point. I find it really surprising, specifically on this map. So anytime you see Varian on a 4-man, a 1-4, Varian just can't solo outside of a few matchups where he just either obliterates his opponent or just doesn't stand a chance. Usually it's not standing a chance. So then when you put him in the 4, you have to consider kill potential because he doesn't complement wave clear at all either. You either have to make up for it or you have to concentrate on that kill potential. Can't help but feel like with Ragnaros already picked up and Vala, like maybe they'll move into the Jaina route, maybe, but again, that's a solo warrior Varian, and it doesn't seem like a a very, how do I say this, a reliable strategy for Naventic at this point. If they move that direction, it feels very Naventic. It just doesn't seem like a winning Naventic strat.
That's what I was going to say. It may not feel necessarily reliable, but it does feel comfortable.
Yes.
And that may be all that they feel like they can fall back on, is what plays to their comforts. And specifically with Varian, he is the most successful warrior for B-Kid so far in HGC.
This game's about to get real tough for Naventic. With the Gul'dan Morales rotation, they're going to go Jaina. I don't think there's any way they don't now that they see Morales. They're going to go all in kill potential onto Morales, dive the backline, anything aggressive. No, they're not. They're going to stick to the Zarya Hardiel.
So
Interesting.
Still kind of an unkillable comp that we've seen them play before. Granted, that was with Medivh, and when they had Kerrigan on Infernal Shrines along with Varian. What does Team Freedom pick as this last choice?
For Freedom,
It'll be Insomnia. It'll definitely be Insomnia's here. So we're looking at a melee of some sort.
I mean,
Thrall
I think Thrall's the safest. No, like Ragnaros might be successful. You could go Gul'dan. I think Thrall is the safer a choice across the board for Freedom to put him on that rather than again a Dahaka or somebody else to be the warrior solo or the melee solo. It works very well with Gul'dan. It works well with ETC. Everything about it makes a lot of sense. It's just Naventic's draft is the one I'm looking to the most. I can't tell if I love it or I'm very scared. That last rotation moving into the Zarya and the Ariel and the Vala, it's kind of that pseudo trio that we knew. The Tassadar, Ariel, Vala was the unbeatable at some international tournaments we've seen in recent past. And this is the replacement to it. I think it's going to help Varian in the skirmishing, but I don't think it's going to do well in the four-man matchup. I think it's going to look okay early on, but I think as the game progresses later and later, I don't think it's going to hold up to the Gul'dan.
What must Naventic do then with this composition?
I mean, it's Focus Morales. Like everybody knows the meme. It's like, oh, they have a medic, we have to focus them. That is always going to be a consideration here. The rest of it's going to be just applying enough threat to, I think, the front line to where even if Morales is getting her beam out, that she puts so much damage there that once they swap, she has to keep it onto that target. But I don't know. The real question is, can Ariel, Tassadar, or Ariel, Zarya, and Vala match the damage output and survivability needed to be able to deal with the Gul'dan Morales?
Especially in the late game.
Yeah, and my initial thought is that the wave clear is going to slightly be against them. Survivability is going to look fine. Echo Corruption is going to hit. Suddenly the game's going to look really ugly. I don't think it can match. As long as there's some solid ease laid out, Echo Corruption damage should be enough to be like, how do we deal with this? I think Strafe is an absolute must for the Vala in this game. If we see a Rain of Vengeance, it will cripple the hope so terribly to be able to out-heal that Gul'dan.
Well, we are ready for this game. Game number 4 between Team Naventic and Team Freedom.
Oh man, this is a rough one. I haven't had this difficult of a time looking at an early game draft matchup in a very long time. So we'll see how this works out. Maybe Naventic will be in full control of these transitions. We already see an adjustment when it comes to Zarya, rather than going on the Q build, going with the globes and high count onto our energy.
Yeah, it's a good battleground to focus on globe talents just in general.
Yeah, it is. It is very much so. It's just typically when we see her on this map in the 4-man, we look for the grenade build just purely on the buying time. Tempo Storm runs it, left and right, really, it feels like, anytime they get their hands onto the Zarya. And it also accents the DPS a little bit, and that might be something that we see struggle here for Naventic as the game moves on. But I guess we'll have to see. The bottom lane, obviously, Thrall Ragnaros is going to be a little entertaining to watch. We already see Naventic is actually considering this pressure up onto the top, not committing to the rotations. The 4-man matching Freedom, because Freedom's wave clear is Gul'dan level, and they're going to rotate right on out. Good dismount, though, coming out from B-Kid. They do not want to match Freedom, at least not yet. If Freedom can force them to answer and go even when it comes to the wave clear, I do think Freedom should be able to pull ahead.
Yeah, that is something that we see a lot from teams when we have these 4-man rotation battlegrounds, is if you can't match, then you go to the opposite lane where traditionally would start the rotations and then clear out that wave as fast as you can. But Team Freedom have already caught back up here and are just maintaining this wherever Naventic are, so then will Team Freedom. And that's important because we're looking at Dansky and his ability to build up his stacks into Echoed Corruption as much as possible. If they're constantly on the opposite side of Naventic, he can't build those up as fast.
Yeah, and the focus on whether or not, you know, he queues into a minion or whether or not he queues into the rest of the team. There's a lot of variables here on how things can play out here, but we do see BKid going for the charge, no force and no stun. And Dansky is going to be able to get the clear out there, throwing out his E as much as he can. Already sitting a couple of stacks there coming out for him here into this matchup. Again, things look good for now with Naventic. It's just, as this moves on, is it going to look equally as pretty with that Varian up there and Zarya as the only warriors?
Yeah, usually we see Dansky as the Tychus player for Team Freedom, but he must be the more favored Gul'dan. That's why we're seeing the Tychus switch up for a Nasmus instead. Zugrug takes a lot of damage, but with Lieutenant Morales here, should heal back up in no time.
You do see Naventic there trying to cut people off and look to be able to get the pick. Echo Corruption stacks increasing a little bit there onto BKid. Nasmus just doing his thing for now. The teams are going to commit the 1-4. So it is Naventic controlling the 1-4 significantly compared to what Freedom's been able to make happen, at least so far into this game. Surprising. A little bit. I can't help but feel like if they were a little bit more on the same page, like the fact that Nasmus is rotating out and they aren't fully committing as a 4, and the focus is more on how do we not die rather than how do we just concentrate on the wave clear, for instance with Dansky. I think that Freedom could pull ahead, but it's not costing them much, at least not yet.
Yeah, it seems like Naventic, now that they've had a hold over that mid or that top turn-in point, it's hard for Team Freedom to push back in. They started to turn in the bottom and will get 26 gems in, so close in both teams looking for their first turn-in.
Yeah, and I think you saw Nasmus there doing a good job getting the zone onto BKid and how easy even Tychus can really kind of rip through the Varian. It's pretty scary, and we'll see if that continues. Warbringer has been picked up. Not going to be used yet as he gets a couple of stacks on the queue there. And wave clear, name of the game, still matchup on bottom seems pretty close to even. It's just, again, who gets that first turn in, who can snowball the map into their favor.
Nasmus did that damage to Varian too because he did take the bigger they are this time.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think that's going to be really useful even into this double warrior composition, purely on the fact that if they can get that much threat potential out to the front line, it's going to force Zarya, or excuse me, not Zarya, but Ariel to burn her supporting in areas that she wouldn't necessarily want to. She always wants, you know, pop it onto everybody aggressive, moving it together into the front line, but then maybe that'll neglect Bala. There's a lot of cool tools you can do as long as you get that threat into the front.
Yeah, it's important to note that as having only Ariel as the support for Naventic, there is no cleanse available. So things like Mosh Pit, Roots from Thrall 2, and Horrify are especially horrifying now for Team Freedom.
They're scary, you know? Insomnia, though, is in a terrible position here. I don't think there's any way he gets out. Oh, there's going to be the stun. He's going to throw lightning, the tame and strike. He's going down 19 gems. Is the turn-in going to happen on the other side of the map? Is the real question here, though. There is no response. The attempt of channel, big impact. 1W is going to get the deny. Zugrug. Is he going to power? Oh, I thought for sure they were going to commit to that. He will, in fact, get the zone. A couple of gems turned in here for Freedom. But overall, Naventic has the control in the fact they picked up first blood. They've got 7, and they've got more gems.
Yeah, not only did Naventic get the first blood, they took out the person with the majority of the gems for Team Freedom holding on 1, and that clear and the fact that Team Freedom were all up in the top gave Naventic free turn-ins and control over the bottom turn-in point. So this should be an early turn-in, a web weaver phase started for Naventic. It's just how much they can get done with it.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of the concern here for them is what are they going to be able to make happen with it. Nasmus there getting the pressure out with the bigger they are once more. And big impact here, throwing out the harass. The teams are worried about the web weavers. How much will Naventic be able to get here is, again, the focus here. Gul'dan's going to have really solid clear. The Volat, Zarya, and Ariel trio, is it going to be holding as true as it has for the first 5 minutes of this game? Finally get to find out. BKid's
done a great job of constantly slowing down rotations in that what you would consider safe-ish spot over on the side of Freedom from the turn-in point. Just constantly being in Team Freedom space, making him nervous. Who else is here with Varian? 2 towers go down in the mid. Thrall doing what he can bottom versus Ragnaros. Gul'dan clearing out in the top, as we saw too. Finally, Team Freedom will take out all of the web weavers, moving into the top lane. It's really the only place left for Siege, but taking down a lot of towers are Naventic, and that's given them a great level lead.
Yeah, they have gotten an insane amount of value out of that first turn in, far more than I ever expected them to really have. When looking at their composition compared to Team Freedom taking some very safe decision-making and transitions, which has cost them more experience than they need, so much so that they're down now a level and a quarter pre-10.
Yeah, it seems like maybe they were, maybe B-Kid was getting in their head.
Yeah, it's enough to put them in a position to where Naventic actually may be able to threaten a secondary turn-in and snowball this game insanely out of control. If they do get that secondary turn-in and start threatening elsewhere on the map, if Freedom doesn't get the responsive turn-in without losing somebody, they are going to be in a terrible position in this game. Because, again, that'll be like 90 to 100 gems into their possession. And if those, we've seen how that works. When you store up all day, it's totally fine as long as you get that break-in, turn-in, double them down. But when you don't, suddenly you go, how do we come back?
It's scary to fight when you're holding so many gems, even knowing that, like, Thrall lost a lot of gems, 19 earlier on, so they're not in the position that they would have liked to be where they were holding gems. Still no heroic abilities to add to that. Now, Team Naventic did end up getting Reign of Vengeance versus Strafe. I know you said you wanted Strafe, but I think, I'm sure that it's to make sure that they have ways of interrupting a potential mosh pit.
It's got to be the focus onto the mosh. I really like the healing output that Strafe with Ariel is able to, kind of amplify the survivability into the Gul'dan with having that 7 talent that decrease, I guess, cooldown for Kenma.
Ooh, Stim Drone for Collusion. Very risky. There's a taunt. Earthquake's gone down too. There goes the Sulfurous Smash. All of Team Freedom get out alive, and this is a stim-droned Odin wailing away at the members of Naventic.
Yeah, Stim Drone is an interesting choice there. It should really help them as the game moves on. Big B-Kid, in fact, though, getting caught out a little bit here. 46 of the gems turned in. 50 for Naventic, and Dansky's gonna be able to top her off there. The question is, will B-Kid be able to escape? In fact, he will. Odin, Earthquake, and Stim Drone were all used, and Webweaver's finally response here to Naventic. What is Freedom gonna be able to make happen? Echo Corruption has almost been completed, by the way. Something to keep a track of. There are only about 1 to 2 more great uses of it here, and he, in fact, will kind of be able to double down.
Maximum Charge is also done, as is Sulfurous Hungers. Lion's Maw is almost there for B-Kid. Webweavers are starting to push in. Team Freedom desperate to catch up in experience, wanting to make sure they don't get too far away. That was a Horrify used, not to too much effect for Team Freedom, but did at least let them get the setup positionally around the towers here in mid. Yeah,
this is a moment where when Naventic gets rid of these Webweavers, they should be looking to fight purely off the lack of the Horrify. There comes the cleanse. The combo was used. Tomster ends up using the Molten Core. Nasmus, Reign of Vengeance. He ends up falling down here. All starting there with the Horrify play. Tomster making plays there as well with the Molten Core, though Webweavers are pressuring on top and bottom still.
Yeah, that was pretty far forward for Tychus. I think trying to jump in, maybe help out with ETC as well. Zugrug went in, but the concern up against Molten Core, whenever it is available, has to be that Molten Swing. It is such a large area of stuns with so much stun follow-up from Team Naventic. Even Reign of Vengeance played a big part there. And now knowing that ETC did not go for Mosh Pit, he can be a little more liberal with Reign of Vengeance usage.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. Ragnaros really is he's a very difficult hero to be able to deal with no matter what map, what scenario you're into, purely on his ability to be able to consume and take over those forts dead or alive. But the Webweavers here for Naventic. They have 13 talents here. And finally, we do see Freedom have all their ults. Obviously, being down a talent here, it might hurt a little bit. But we're really kind of yet to be able to see an actual just skirmish between these teams. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Freedom are all grouping in mid once again to follow Naventic around. Naventic, do they want to push up to top? Especially seeing now that Freedom have all joined up in the mid area to burn down this Webweaver. They can look to just do as much as they can, throw out some damage. Maybe if they can get the perfect setup, they've got B-Kid here, can get a follow-up from Detainment Strike 2 and net a kill, but otherwise, Ragnaros escorted the Web Weaver in the bottom for a long time. Freedom move out, and Naventic get the first fort of the game.
They are going to be able to get the first fort. Bottom's looking pretty too. Easy transition to be able to confirm that here as well. So 2 forts have managed to open up. That's a pretty much a must-have, really, in this scenario. Purely on the fact that that's 2 turn-ins, so opening up the map is crucial, especially when looking at Naventic's composition. They need to be able to make that happen, so lethal can be a reasonable option in the near future. We do see everybody making this transition, though, down below, scouted out there by Tomster. Detainment Strike, Earthquake going to be used. Odin as well, but he's completely isolated. The stun to combo coming in. The taunt, Insomnia. Will he be able to keep himself alive? The beam from Collusion. Oh my goodness, he survives, but ETC does too!
Collusion barely keeps Insomnia alive, hiding in the back. Here comes Stage Dive. Insomnia's on the chase too. Power Slide afterward, and Crystal Aegis has to be used. Ariel is down. Biggie's in trouble. So is B-Kid. Gets wrecked by the Echoed Corruption, which, by the way, you can tell the stacks were finished there. Grenade and a variant kill. Team Freedom, we're down this game, and in one fight, just tied it back up.
That's a boss and a turn-in play here for for Team Freedom. They look like they're going to be getting this transition. Do they move towards the boss too? Yeah, they're going to go for it. They are, in fact, getting anything and everything they can to turn the tides of this game. How did they live? I don't even know. I got Collusion, but how did ETC survive?
Yeah, Insomnia got the beam initially, but then Collusion switched back around. Maybe he still had Safeguard. I didn't quite see, but if you have the Safeguard plus the beam, switch in time. Because Collusion was completely safe back there, but I was so scared. Especially when we saw Expulsion Zone go down. I was like, there's no way that Insomnia gets out of this.
Yeah, and now we're about to see, you know, the threat of this composition. The boss is pressuring on top. We do see Big Impact trying to get the buy time. All heroics available here for Naventic. They want this fight. Zugrug very deep. B-Kid goes there to punish. Good cleanse coming out from Collusion. Horrify is going to be used, splitting the entire team. Boss is still pressuring onto top, but 16 Talontier is going to be picked up before Naventic, and they're going to keep going forward as the fort is going to be a good retreat moment. Yeah. This is, oh man, Naventic, they needed that.
They didn't get it though. No further kills. Freedom still had a fort to retreat back to, and the entire time, Freedom bought time for a boss to take down fort and start working on the towers at keep level. Still, Naventic refused to let Team Freedom have any sort of presence in the turn-in points, knowing that there could be a further siege to follow. Yeah,
that being said, though, Freedom should have turned in as they were completing the boss at the same time. Definitely maybe not as swift as they had hoped to make it happen, but it's totally fine. They managed to open up the map. They still got all the gems to be able to complete the turn-in. As long as they pick up the 16 and we see them on an even footing fight, everything is okay in their eyes.
Yeah, it might have just been because it took them a while to rotate up to the top lane. Concern for having anybody separated and losing the game with one strong play from Team Naventic. But now, Insomnia, Nasmus, somebody needs their turn-in so that we can have more red Web Weavers and Freedom can open up the map on their own.
Yeah, Zuna's going to be there, though, with the delay. Full 5 versus 5. We have to consider Expulsion Zone in these chokeholds. We've seen Tempo Storm use that to great effect onto this map, always taking fights in that choke, and just really seem to be overly successful with it. We'll see if that's going to be the case as well for Naventic. But the Gul'dan poke's coming into play. You know, it's something that has to be respected, at least now here, as Dansky, with that Echo Corruption, is able to slightly cripple the health bars here. Insomnia is scouted out. The cleanse is going to be there again. And look at that damage, though.
Oh, that Horrify was huge. Zuna's in a terrible position. It has all of the shielding used, but won't make it out alive. Sulfurous Smash drops on the stemmed Odin, but Nasmus stays healthy. Collusion keeping him as a pocket healer alive. Tomster takes over and does get a stun that's followed up by taunt, but just barely. Once again, Collusion keeps all the members of Team Freedom alive, and this means there is no Molten Core now for defense if Team Freedom get these Web Weavers.
Yeah, that might be a cooldown that they wish they had later. They're looking to try and buy time until Zuna's up. Instead, now going to be forfeiting this turn-in. All the lanes are going to be pretty well prepped as well when it comes to positioning. For those who don't know what I mean by that, it's purely on the Web Weaver spawn wherever the minions are going to collide. There's a couple of rare exceptions and, you know, this and that. But overall, you can generally judge based on that and the fact that top, mid, and bottom are all pushing close enough to be able to gain value and split pressure on equal times. suddenly means that your web weaver turn-in went from good to great, and that is what Freedom now has in their hands.
Shield sequencer for collusion, so now he can cast 2 safeguards now that he's 16, and that is a welcome relief for Team Freedom, trying to barely keep. They constantly are keeping people alive just barely. There is the stage dive, follow-up 2 of Reign of Vengeance, and Cleanse is going to allow Zugrug to get out. Some heroic abilities use their expulsion zone too. Will be down for a little while during this push.
We have to, I mean, last game, the entire amount of pressure, the fact that nobody on Naventic was able to get onto Collusion, and in this game, the cleanses, the peels that Collusion's being able to provide. I mean, I criticize the fact, you know, not being able to keep anybody up and respond to the raw damage, but positioning of Collusion for being, you know, the guy transitioning has been very, very well done. And a lot of the reason we see the success, not only in this series, but some of the others of Freedom. Odin now is going to be used. Dansky's popping his, you know, mana tap there. And it looks like they really want this keep, but bottom web weaver's pretty low as well. Maybe biting off a little bit more than they can chew here for Freedom.
Starting to run in. There is no Earthquake for Thrall. The turnaround takes out Zarya though, and that's a great start to this push, this keep pressure for Team Freedom. But Freedom have lost some of their health. They've also lost Odin. So Naventic defend their keep, but at what cost? The cost of Zarya.
Yeah, and that was, a lot of that came down. B-Kid had the right idea there, but Zuna just ate way too much damage to be able to even consider being able to get that flank, that engage. He moved forward, and then Horrify made him involuntarily move forward for the second time in a row there and confirming a kill. Very well done coming out from Freedom. Everything is in control. They're transitioning now towards the boss. 14 seconds before Zuna's up. That's the expulsion zone. Everything else, 20 seconds for Ventic when it comes to Sulfur's Smash. I don't think they're going to be able to make the transition in time, as they know Freedom there is up at the boss.
Yeah, the damage ability for Team Freedom now to put onto these warriors is absolutely insane. Giant Killer as well as Blood for Blood for Thrall. And the overkill build for Tychus is now complete, as well as the bigger they are. There is a lot of damage. If someone like Zuna gets caught in a position like that, they will be blown up. So the Warriors need to make sure that everyone is in concerted effort for Team Naventic now.
Being able to stop this turn-in as a response to be able to hold off the boss, Freedom just needs to keep Naventic here. They don't even have to take this fight. Legitimately just get a keep for free on top. Just don't let them back, and we'll see if they're going to be able to do that as you see them moving forward. Naventic going, we know we need to force this turn-in. We can't really back without losing too much at this point. What can we really make happen?
Freedom are backing off. They have nowhere near the gems needed for a turn-in of their own. Freedom really, really want to get level 20 and decide to give the turn-in to allow themselves to get that.
That was such a huge win for Freedom. Like, buying time there meant that that keeps going down for free. Now the turn-in's going to happen, yes, but everybody's back responding to the boss. Then they have 20 advantage. They get a free clear on the top, they get a free clear on the mid, and they should have one on bottom. This turn-in is essentially doing nothing. At least before, it would have helped stop with the boss pressure onto the map. Now, Freedom has nothing to worry about. They're like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and casually just remove every ounce of this turn-in that you managed to at least conduct so far. It's just, you know, everything is looking so good for them here in this series for now.
Naventic are back to trying to build into eliminating one target at the beginning of the fight if they can. They have Will of Heaven to enable Vala. They also have Juggernaut, which is not something I have seen before. Extra damage on charge. It's percent-based damage, so if it's ETC, sometimes Zugrug has been in a spot where he's the one who's gotten taunted. Maybe Naventic can take him out there, but they need 20.
It should be noted that Freedom is being insanely passive considering they have 20 advantage. The fact that they're willing, you know, to risk these web weavers and the experience catch-up here for Naventic is very surprising. 20 choice for the ETC was confirmed. He held it for a moment. He, in fact, is going to go back with the death metal. There's going to be the stage dive attempt. 20 still not here for Naventic, though, Gilly, but there's going to be the Molten Core.
Molten Core is in a great spot. Here goes the death metal. It only catches B-Kid. Everyone else, Team Freedom's in the back, just trying to deal with Horrify. Zuna's almost gone. Bala goes down. Expulsion zone is hit. Nasmus, he's in a tough spot. It'll be a 2-for-1 so far. Naventic continue the fight.
But Gul'dan is still alive, so is Medic, and those are the two, you know, the sustain of DPS, the sustain on the health bars, whereas they ended up losing Vala, which is a large core of the damage there outside of Heroics for Naventic. So Naventic, with their health bars, are going to be able to back up. Gems sitting 0-15. 15 turn in there for Freedom. That was very close to being game over for Naventic in that fight. Good job there coming out from Thompson, using the multi-core, being able to buy a little bit of time there for his team. But on the race to the turn-in, it's almost dead even. The boss here, in fact, is not going to be spawning for another minute and 55 seconds. We've got a game on our hands, and Death Timer's almost dead even as well. Small advantage here for Naventic, but I don't think they're going to be able to capitalize.
Naventic are full defense mode now. They have Unyielding Defender, Shield of Hope, Submerge, Glory to the Alliance. So if it comes down to who can sustain through the initial burst, the initial damage, Freedom are trying to get and engage off of the Earthquake, off of Insomnia's flanks. And the Stim Drone, Odin too, has been a very interesting choice this game. Yep. But he has not had to medevac out once.
Well, I mean, yeah, if he had the opportunity to be able to do so, yeah.
Right.
It's just like, there hasn't been a scenario where Collusion's been under so much pressure, and I think a lot of that comes down to, you know, that Odin Stim Drone is doing so much damage that you have to focus it, but the supporting coming out from Collusion there onto Nasmus has just been way too much.
Yeah, I mean, and who would be able to dive in necessarily for Naventic? Freedom are choosing a siege point.
Yeah, they're trying to force this before Naventic gets enough gems to turn in. So, you know, they actually dictate the rotations of Naventic rather than the other way around. Oh, they're baiting Dansky too. Zugrug is there in the corner. Insomnia actually showing over the wall too. Odin's going to be dropped. They're going to just try and siege up here.
There's the stem.
They're just going to say, hey, this is your keep, and we're going to make it not exist anymore. Force the Molten Core. The taunt. A lot of damage. There's going to come out cleanse onto Zugrug.
Crystal Aegis was used. Crystal Aegis was used. Horrify immediately afterward. Kenma can't get out of here. He uses Shield of Hope. Barely survives nukes dropping from the sky from Nasmus. And once this minion wave clears out, Team Freedom maybe could try to jump in again. Zugrug has to try to save Dansky now with a Safeguard and Healing Beam. Collusion will keep him alive.
Thompson there with the Submerge. Barely going to be able to keep himself up, but everybody's health bar is so drastically low on the side of Naventic, but Freedom ends up opting out of this fight. They do have 30 gems in their hands, 61 available on the other side of the map there for Naventic. And they, wow, interesting choice to be able to back out of that. After they were willing to take that siege up fight, they forced the Molten Core. They were still willing to risk the fight, and the minute that happened afterwards, instead backing out, considering the race to the turn-in more than anything, they know they have to be able to go 10. And the heroics are going to be up way faster for Naventic than the other, you know, for Freedom.
Yeah, Freedom used a lot of heroics there to save everybody, keep everyone alive. And the Stim Drone and Odin, it seems weird to use that when you know that Molten Core is still up. It can delay.
I mean, yeah, you're very right. It was definitely a bold decision there. Tomster eating a lot of that Echo Corruption. The gems, though, on Zuna are enough to not be able to confirm the turn-in, so we'll see if they manage to make this happen. 15 seconds before Earthquake. Every other heroic is up here. Look at, oh my. That is one Gul'dan E, in case you were wondering how much health Bala has. That's why I was talking about the scaling there.
Yes.
For anybody wondering the scaling of Gul'dan, or when I often talk about Q-build into E-build, that is why E-build is a thing. It is ridiculous the amount of damage it does. They're baiting it.
Yes.
There's no reveal either for Naventic outside of Zarya Grenade, which is going to come into play. There's
checks.
one.
They see Beacon.
Oh, they
revealed.
revealed.
Too.
The
Earthquake. Earthquake. Insomnia is jumping into the front line, but everyone else had to rotate in. Horrify. Crystal Aegis used to buy time for Zuna, but oh no, the taunt hits Zugrug and a follow-up Rain of Vengeance. HGC gets taken out, but he does have the death metal. Here comes Team Freedom. Zuna's almost down.
Yeah, Zuna's barely surviving here. Dansky as well, as they throw out a lot of spells. The trade going 1 for nothing. Naventic getting an advantage now, transitioning towards bottom. They're going to be able to confirm this turn-in. Naventic might be able to win the game here if they play their cards right. Top is not going to be able to get much done. They're even going to question, no, I thought for a moment they were going to try a risky boss bait, but bottom is not going to do too much for a long period of time. Top is slowly going to be pushing against them. So mid and then rotating the bottom is going to be the best bet here for Naventic. 28 seconds until ETC comes back. These fights have been so close, though, between these teams after hitting that around 16 talent tier.
Yeah, we've been seeing Clutch Horrify's just left and right Clutch heroic abilities being used from the teams, but in the end, who is going to be able to close out this game? 25, rounding on 26 minutes on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Team Naventic needs this win here to be able to tie up the series once again. Otherwise, Team Freedom will take them out in the series.
Yeah, and they just burnt a lot of gems. Again, keep in mind, they're at like the 70 threshold now. If they don't even get a keep here, that is not good, as Boss is going to be the only win condition available for Naventic for some time. And it looks like mid is going to be denied. Bottom, again, is not going to do anything in the long run. And top has the catapult, so Naventic got the turn in, really nothing with it outside of this fort on top and a little bit of harass on the mid. And suddenly, Team Freedom is one turn away from being able to threaten the game. They even are willing to Earthquake Odin. Stim drones used, they're all inning this.
Expulsion Zone is still available should Naventic need to stop this push, but they're just gonna walk away. The Earthquake wasn't in a position to actually slow anybody down necessarily. That's a lot of heroic abilities used there.
It's the second time we've seen that from Freedom, questioning, you know, whether or not they can identify the win condition on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
It's hard.
It is a very hard one, and we often compliment this team for being so young, but having really smart choices and decisions all across the board. But this might be a moment where we see them. They know every Naventic's on top, but they're risking a turn in that Boss could lose them the game. Oh my goodness.
All right, Web Weavers, Boss is halfway down. They're giving Boss up.
Naventic has to win with this.
Freedom are pushing out the lanes as much as they can. They're preparing to defend their keep up top. They have put Naventic in the position to try to win off of this push.
Is Naventic? Okay, Naventic is going to try and win this. I was like, if they don't, this is so bad for Naventic. Oh man, this is going to be a tense moment. Top is, I mean, obviously just deleted.
Freedom need time to get heroic abilities back online. They still have 14 seconds till Stim Drone, 20 seconds until Earthquake and Odin 2.
It's a lot of good harass there onto the Boss already. Going down below 75% threshold. That's very, very big. Obviously, your keep not going down is going to be the main focus, purely on the fact that Thompson can just take it over. It's now sitting at 50%. Odin's going to be up in a second. I think this is totally fine for Freedom. They just need to buy a little bit of time.
Naventic trying to jump in. Potentially, there's Earthquake 2, Stim Drone. Here comes the stage dive. Everything's on the line for Naventic in this fight right here. Zuna has to go into Crystal Aegis to save his life. The keep goes down, but Tomster's not in a position to grab it. And Team Freedom defend here. Web Weavers taking down the keeps in mid. Mid keep falls.
The most important thing, though, is just don't let Naventic back at this point. The Web Weavers are pushing into the core, so they're trying to buy as much time as possible, saying, Naventic, you can't go back and be able to defend at this point. The shield is being whittled away. Freedom now in hot pursuit. Can they buy enough time? Web Weaver on mid and bottom. The shields are already dead. Zuna starting his back is not going to be interrupted. Actually, he stops it himself. 95% onto the core. Bottom Web Weaver is the only one left remaining. 93 onto the core as they move up 88%. It looks like Freedom's just going to all in this at this point in time. Expulsion Zone and Taunt are the only tools available. Zuna's falling so very low.
It's Sonia's on the chase!
80%. Kenma with the clutch heal, but I don't think it's going to matter. 62.
60, 50! Team Freedom, they take out Vala and they take out Naventic 3-1 in the series.
Game number one, Naventic had a very convincing play over Team Freedom, but everyone beyond that point, Freedom having their number, fulfilling the prophecy, if you will, of the Dark Horse here in North America.
Team Freedom have now taken out Gale Force Esports. They have taken out Team Naventic. They are on fire and further blazing, if you will. Like, they just keep going and getting better and better.
Yeah, I think when it was talking to Insomnia, right, he was talking about, he's like, you know, this is really just like, this is kind of just the beginning of this group, that they are going to climb to the top. He's very, very confident in their play and their skill level overall. And it looks like it's working out so far. I mean, I have nothing but positive things really to be able to say about this group so far in their gameplay. I mean, a couple of little things here and there, but very smart heads-up play across the board.
And it's important for them. That series was so important for them. Yeah. They did lose to Tempo Storm, and they lost to Superstars early on. That was their first match, but being able to defeat Gale Force Esports, and now starting that run when they're looking at, hey, we might still stand a chance in the standings, depending on how things shake down, of getting to go to the Western Clash, and what a victory for a new team that would be.
That would be, like, beating Gale Force Esports was unheard of. Making it to a LAN within your first, you know, like split would legitimately be considered almost impossible by many before the start of the HGC or in North America. And Freedom is really the only one to have even a slimmer of hope to be able to make that reality. And it's only looking better as the weeks go on.
They have a lot of series left, though, to get to that point. And like we said, they haven't faced a Team 8 who has looked unstoppable. We'll see just how unstoppable that is in the next series as they go up against Tempo Storm. We're just waiting to get Insomnia on the line now so we can congratulate him, ask him some questions about that series. I am very interested to see what sort of preparation went in, especially hearing how much thought was given to their series versus Gale Force.
Yeah, and you know what I'm excited to ask is why Zul'jin and Braxis hold out?
Yes,
because now that
finally!
it's managed to get a win, I can finally ask why is he so highly valued on that map specifically, because it has just been very surprising to see it come out. It's the first time, and Team Freedom was the first to be able to get a win with Zul'jin, and here at least, I think, at least in NA and EU. I don't think he's come out in EU at all. So it's just, oh man, it's gonna be a doozy. If Freedom is just a pleasure. I'm so excited to see them play. I'm so excited to see them do well. Everything about them has just been a blessing, really, for HGC.
We knew today would be a good day when we saw that series and the next series too.
The next series is going to be, equally exciting. Maybe even better, really. It's our number 1 and 2 seeds, and Team 8 versus Tempo Storm. I mean, it's awesome.
Any initial thoughts on what you're looking for from those teams in that series?
It's definitely going to be Tempo Storm resorting to their old self and just picking apart in the draft. Glaurung is a very easy still focus point. Yes, he has added the Medivh, which has made it a little bit more difficult to be able to target it, but I expect Tempo Storm to resort back to that playstyle, picking apart the draft, then going forward, winning the series, and then that I think is going to be the main focus. If they don't, though, I think Team 8 has a real chance.
Well, we are ready to talk to one of our victors from Team Freedom. Hey, Insomnia, congratulations. You just beat Team Naventic.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, so walk us through a little bit of you guys' preparation versus Naventic, because I know that you guys have scrimmed them quite a bit in the past.
So basically, obviously, we didn't scrim each other at all this week. So we kind of were scouting their VODs and stuff like that, understanding like their strats and knowing what they wanted to do. And we kind of assumed they wanted pick compositions. So our entire drafts were to just stay alive and then win like in the long run. So it turned to like, it kind of worked out in the end. We won the last fight on Towers of Doom with like, we told Zug to die and like had the huge death mosh. And that was the only way we won that game.
Yeah, that was huge. We were even like, how can Zugrug stay alive versus this? But the death metal was such a unique play, especially, were you surprised that it got that much value considering the fact that it had been shown once before?
It was kind of insane. We were really surprised that we think Kenma blinked into it, and then we were able to kill Biggie, and we got everyone there, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is the game. And we were so hyped. Like, we couldn't be happier right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's very well deserved. Obviously, you guys are a pleasant surprise so far in HGC. One thing I've got to ask, I've been harping about it ever since the start of HGC, Zul'jin on Braxis holdout. Why does he have so much value in North America?
Honestly, we have no idea. We actually totally hated the pick because they totally outdrafted us on that map, and we are incredibly surprised that we won, to be honest. Like, I do not like Zul'jin at all. I feel like Vala is the #1.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not us, trust me.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, so since you guys are a new team here, who do you feel like is really stepping up so far on your team and showing up as far as a playmaker?
Honestly, I feel like we're all growing so well together. Obviously, a lot of people on the team are underestimated, in my opinion. But I have to give props to definitely Zug. He hasn't main tank before, and Kill swapped from tank to healer. So, like, the longer we go together, everyone's just getting way better at their roles. Dansky's making plays on Artanis. Nasmus can play just about every hero in the game. And honestly, like, I'm so happy with everybody. We're playing out of our minds. So.
Oh, we can see that. Congratulations again. And good luck next week versus B-Step. Or actually, on Sunday, versus B-Step. Do you have any shout-outs before we let you go?
Ultimately, I want to shout out to my team. And then all of the Team Freedom fans, guys, thank you guys so much. And we will see you guys tomorrow.
Congratulations again. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
He's too happy all the time. It wears off on you. I mean, yes, ecstatic would be, the way to put it. It's just to be able to, become something almost like greater than you expected yourself to, being a part of something bigger than yourself and it rising to the top in the occasion, the way that Freedom really has. I don't think words can really describe probably what they're feeling as a group, but it's always just so nice to be able to, get a little bit to rub off on you, I guess.
And especially to have that momentum now going up been facing B-Step tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a break. That was the end of our first series, but after our break, Team 8 versus Tempo Storm. See you then.
Reasonable option in the near future. We do see everybody making this transition, though. Down below, scouted out there by Tomster. Detainment Strike, Earthquake going to be used. Odin as well, but he's completely isolated. The stun to combo coming in. The taunt, Insomnia. Will he be able to keep himself alive? The beam from Collusion. Oh my goodness, he survives, but ETC does too!
Collusion barely keeps Insomnia alive, hiding in the back. Here comes Stage Dive. Insomnia's on the chase too. Power Slide afterward, and Crystal Aegis has to be used. Ariel is down. Biggie's in trouble. So is B-Kid. Gets wrecked by the Echoed Corruption, which, by the way, you can tell the stacks were finished.